The things that I'm most proud of is when, for example, I failed the first two attempts and I made the third one, because
Yes.
that's when I can
Mm,
prove to myself that I can reset my mind, start from scratch,
mm.
start with a beginner's mind, open like a new window, and not go back in my mind to.
Hello there, and welcome to Wild and Finally Fucking Free, where midlife isn't a time of crisis, but a time of metamorphosis. Just like the journey through puberty and pregnancy to postpartum, our midlife transition is also a powerful portal of rebirth. The wise woman inside of us is calling, inviting us to slow down, to take stock, to speak our truth, to burn away all that no longer serves us, ready to step forward into our next phase of life. I'm your host, Kylie Patchett, storyteller and midlife self-care coach, and together we'll unearth the real and raw stories of women who are right in the messy, magical middle or have come out the other side, and the healers who help all of us through these crossroads of change. I hope that as you listen to these tales of breaking the ties that bind, shedding skins, and courageously chasing midlife dreams, that you too will answer the wise woman's invitation and set yourself wild and finally fucking free. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I have a super inspirational story to share with you today from the beautiful Kim Rahir. Hello, Kim. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great, thanks.
Kim is coming from Europe and it is afternoon in Australia, but it's 6:30 for Kim. So props to Kim for getting out of bed to share her story with us. Thank you very much.
Well, sometimes you have to do what you got to do. I am kind of a morning person, but I prefer getting up with the light rather than the
Yes, it's
alarm clock.
very, very dark there still.
Yes.
Whereabouts are
You know
you?
why? We
Yeah.
are on the wrong sort of time. And I live in Spain, and
Uh-huh.
they adjusted their time to
Oh.
Germany. So we should be GMT, but we're GMT
Oh.
plus one. So now
Oh.
we're at the, just before the summer solstice,
Yes.
it's daylight until 11 p.m.
Oh, no, see, I could not do that because I am a very early morning person, but I want to be in bed and asleep by 9 o'clock at the latest. So I would not
Yeah,
cope with that.
that does feel like afternoon here in summer, 9 p.m. Like
Mm.
from the light. It's crazy.
Oh my goodness. I have a friend who spends half of her year in Perth, which is Western Australia, and half in Oslo. And so you couldn't get two completely opposite, like literally opposite sides of the world. And she was saying the other day that well, not the other day, when I last spoke with her, that she struggles sometimes when she's in Norway with the length of, yeah, the darkness and the just so different to what we're used to in Australia. So thank you. Thank you for joining us. Now, after all that preamble, please introduce your beautiful self if our listeners don't already know about you.
Yeah, so I'm Kim. I'm 60 years old. I have three grown kids, and I work with midlife women to help them get strong and build muscle so they can take
Yeah.
care of most of their midlife shenanigans.
Hmm.
I'm also a very passionate and competitive weightlifter
Yes.
um, myself. And I love listening to opera music, and
Oh.
sometimes I try to sing a little bit myself.
That's cool. I'm finding out fascinating facts about all of my guests today. Like I just found out one lady was a springboard diver, and now I'm hearing
Wow.
opera. Oh my goodness, that is very cool. Um, I'm when I was reading your story, Kim, I'm so reminded that there is so many ways in which challenge, when it turns up in our life, as much as it's deeply painful at the time and very challenging and all of those things, can be such a catalyst to end up doing what we're meant to be doing in the world. And your story is the perfect example of this. When you look back at your earlier life, were you always, when did you wait, when did the weightlifting start? Was that a later in life thing?
Yes, I mean, what I'm doing now, it's called weightlifting, so it's Olympic weightlifting. It's like a very
Wow.
technical thing where you just do two movements. You have to get the bar overhead
Yes.
either in one movement or in two movements. Before
Yes.
that, I used to go to the gym, train with machines, a little bit with free weights, but it was in this spirit of I want to look a certain way, I want to stay fit. which is okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that
Yeah.
motivation. But now it's like really lifting heavy and getting better
Wow.
at this technique, which is super challenging. And it's lifelong learning, which is the perfect fit for me because I love to learn.
Yes, perfect. And what I love so much about this like fascination that you have in this particular sport is that you are going up against very, very clearly the story that we have in some parts of society that's like, as soon as you hit midlife, it's all downhill and you're by definition going to get weaker and slower and less mobile and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hello, 60-year-old Olympic weightlifter says, no, that is not my story.
Absolutely. And I can't even begin to describe how that feels. I am definitely stronger, physically stronger than I have ever been in my life. And it's because also my mindset has changed. And I remember when I first switched to the club that I'm training in now, which
Mhm.
was like 6 years ago. And after 2 weeks, they said, "Wow, great that you're training with us. Do you want to compete?" And my first answer at the time was, "Compete? Do you know how old I am?" Stupid answer. I would never say that again. And they just looked at me and said,
No.
"We don't care. We don't care. We have other women your age and they're competing." And that's when it clicked. And I thought, what the hell? Why not? And I
Why
said, yes,
not?
let's do this. And it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life because this competing thing, it's exhilarating, it's scary, it's challenging, and
Mm.
does one thing also. So many women tell me when you turn 50, you become invisible. You're not reproductive anymore. You're not sort of going out to conquer anything in your job anymore. That's what most people think, and you feel invisible. Now, when you compete in weightlifting, there's a platform, and light goes on. They call your name, and you step
Yeah.
out, and you have 60 seconds to make that lift. You're very, very visible,
Yeah.
and it's it's amazing because it does feel scary, and it's like you get lots of adrenaline flowing, but it's also totally empowering. It's so much fun.
Yes.
And the very, very first time I competed, I remember that I was there. I kept telling my coach, "Oh my God, I think I'm going to cry," just because the emotions were so powerful. The stuff that was going on inside me was so strong, and I just thought I was going to cry. There was, there's no sadness or
No,
eh,
no.
any nothing at all. It was just the emotions were so strong that I had to overflow. And he said, "Don't cry now because you need to be."
Yeah. Can we pause on the crying? Keep
Yes,
it till later.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I mean, I am by no means anywhere near Olympic weightlifting. I've always really, really loved weight training because of the feeling it gives me. I like the challenge of always building my weights or working on technique but I love the fact that when I feel strong in the gym, it overflows into my life. So I feel really grounded, really well in myself, and that feeling of strength. So I can only imagine when you add on the competing and literally putting yourself in uncomfortable but transformative positions of being very visible and yeah, that would be even more like how is your life changed as a result of taking up weightlifting? Like I'm like do
I
you
think
recognize yourself?
yes, and I sort of do, but it's like everything that used to feel hard or unpleasant,
Hmm.
now is just another part of my day. And I've thought about this a lot. How is that possible? And I think when
Mm.
when you lift weights, and it can be what you do in the gym, or it can be Olympic weightlifting, or it can be
Hmm.
competing,
Hmm.
um, you practice overcoming resistance.
Yeah,
It's
literally.
it
Literally.
absolutely. It's like physical in the gym,
Mm.
but you somehow know in your fibers that
Hmm.
resistance is something that you can overcome. So now, when something happens in my day, um, I don't, and I was not brought up like this.
Mm.
My mom would rather go, "Oh my God, now everything is ruined," or "Why did this happen?" or "Who did this?" And,
Hmm.
like always looking back. And now I have this reaction, okay, this is not what was planned. What
Mm-hmm.
can I do moving forward to change it?
Mm.
So that's totally different for me. And when you have this like inner knowledge, and you have it really literally in your fibers, in your muscles, yes, resistance is something that I can overcome. It
Yes.
carries over into your everyday life. Just like you
Yeah.
said, you feel better. In general, you feel more confident. You carry yourself differently because your
Yes.
body changes. But it's also this reaction to stuff not going the way you want, and you
Mm.
don't complain. You just have this reaction. Okay, what can I do now
Yeah.
to make this work?
And I guess as you're talking, the other thing that's kind of coming to my mind is you're building self-trust, aren't you? It's like I have I have met resistance before and I've figured out a way to either practice and train so that I have more strength or I have a way around it or I figure out a different approach or I get coaching or whatever, like whatever the solution is. And so the more that you do that, the more that you're building that trust in yourself that resistance is actually not something I need to run away from. Resistance is just an invitation. I imagine that changes a lot of things. What I want to ask is, how does that knowledge of yourself change your relationships? Is that what impact has that had in, yeah,
Yeah,
relating to people?
it has changed a lot because
Yes.
I have become much more understanding,
Mm-hmm.
uh, more tolerant, and more patient, which is,
Interesting.
yes, I can't really explain how that happened. First of all, probably because of my story, because I really was in a place um, where it was just very dark and I didn't know what was going to happen.
Mm.
So I have more understanding for people who are in a dark place because I've been there myself.
Yes.
And I think that's something that I personally, before that happened to me, I was lacking that. I was
Mm.
thinking that you know, whatever happens, you're somehow responsible and, deal with it and
Yep.
don't whine and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like
Mm-hmm.
it was not very humane. And I mean, I had the same attitude towards myself. So that was
Yes.
not very, very
Yep.
helpful. Now, I, because I know that resistance is something that you can overcome, but that can be intimidating and you have to practice. It's a skill. And I know that it's
Yes.
a skill. I am more understanding. So when I meet people and I can tell that, and it's, in my work also, I can
Yeah.
see when someone is struggling with resistance, and that could be like the resistance that comes from inside. That's,
Yes. Yes.
the
The
toughest one
worst
to
form.
overcome.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I understand that it's just a certain skill they haven't mastered yet or they haven't learned yet, and that makes me much more understanding instead of thinking that this has got something to do with their personality, which it doesn't. It really is a skill. And
Mm.
when you see it that way, not only can you understand people better, you can also help them much better.
Hey, gorgeous. We interrupt this gold for a delicious invitation. If your whole body has been whispering more lately, more voice, more truth, more satisfaction, more clients of the soulmate variety, more cash, more you, then this invitation is for you. Potent, my sister mind is officially open. This is my high touch, holy fuck, I'm ready sister mind for rebels in good girl clothing who are done outsourcing their power and diluting their magic to fit into someone else's business formula. If you have been craving a space where your strategy, your voice, and your energy all get to be offered, honored, refined, and amplified, this is it. Inside of Potent, you'll get my eyes on your business every single week, copy mentoring, and that is for brand copy and content storytelling that turns your truth into client catnip, energetic recalibration that helps you unhook old learned limitation patterns, keeping you quiet, not being seen, not being heard, real-time high touch one-on-one coaching that actually sees the bigness of your vision, and the kind of sisterhood that does not flinch when you show up in your full, messy, brilliant, phoenix rising from the ashes glory. This isn't surface level support. It's deep, potent, paradigm shifting work that changes who you are as a woman in business and a woman in life. We start in August. Early open access is open right now. For the month of June 2025, inside of this early access open doors period, you will receive juicy bonuses, extended payment plans, and access immediately to my entire library of storytelling gold. You'll find all the juicy details at kyliepatchett.com/potent. And we fill spaces, and there's only 10 of them, and more than likely only 5 by the time you listen to this, because by that time I will have offered them to the existing cohort, the beautiful original OG circle. We do actually take applications on a first come, first served basis. So come and apply, and let's get back to the magic of the episode. Yeah, and you do it from a place of compassion, which also means that internally your invitation is to practice self-compassion, which is a hell of a lot more empowering to come from than a place of judgment, or I need fixing, or there's something not right about the way that I'm doing this, or bloody blah. I would love to ask you about, and you referenced your story before, and you have had like quite a marked point in time where you did reach that awful place that maybe, I don't know, did you feel that you couldn't figure out a way out of it? Can you share a little bit about that? Because we were talking before we started recording about pain and power being these two sides of the same coin. Can you tell us a little bit about your story that kind of was the breadcrumbs that led you to here, perhaps?
Yes, it's a long saga. I'm going to try to sort of sum it up. It started when I was 45. My 3 kids were small. My oldest one was 10. We lived in Berlin. I had a full-time job working shifts. We had a beautiful house. And I had a beautiful family. I thought I had it all. And then one day I picked my kids up from school, and I noticed that I was seeing double, which was super scary.
Yes, I imagine it would be.
When you have a bit of a niggle somewhere in your body, you can sort of ignore your way out of this and think, oh, this is going to go away.
Yeah.
This one, I couldn't ignore it. So I went to the doctor. I was sent to the hospital, tons of tests. I spent 6 weeks in hospital. After 3 weeks, I was completely paralyzed from the hips downward.
Holy
I could not
dooly.
wiggle a toe. And they didn't really know what was going on. They thought it was something autoimmune. But because my symptoms were kind of all over the place, they couldn't make up their mind what it was. So they gave me all sorts of treatments. And then after 6 weeks, my legs were coming back slowly. I could go home. And then after a while, they made up their mind and said it was a syndrome called Guillain-Barré, which is a one-off. So it comes and it goes. Apparently, it's quite common among soldiers. And I was thinking maybe I was soldiering along a little bit in my life.
Yes. Maybe I was, yep. Yeah.
So it took me like 6 months to walk normally again. And already I had, this is not the end, unfortunately, but I had already learned a lot. Because before I went into hospital, I was thinking about stuff like making dinner, doing homework with the kids, all those chores. Everything felt heavy and stressful. And when I was in hospital, I thought, what would I give to be able to do the dishes again? And I became so much more, grateful. When I was at home learning to walk again, I saw people walking outside, and they had like these grumpy faces, and I thought, you idiots, you can walk. Why are you grumpy? Be grateful. Enjoy every step you take. So I had already changed my perspective. After a year, they said I had a clean bill of health and I could live my life normally, and I was just so grateful. And then it took another year when we had moved to Paris. By that time, I felt my left hand going numb, and I knew something was wrong. More tests, and this time they said it was different. It was actually my immune system attacking the white matter in my nerves. And if it happened again, it was certain that I had MS. And I spent a year hoping that it wouldn't happen again, and then it did. So they told me, this is MS and you need lifelong treatment. Uh, and
Ooh.
that was a really low blow because after my first episode,
Mhm.
I thought I had learned so much. I was reliving my life. I had a new perspective, and then they cut out my legs from under me again.
Mm.
And that was really that was dark and that was scary because with MS you never know where you're going. You know,
No.
you could turn blind, you could spend your life in a wheelchair,
Mhm.
no idea. So that was pretty much a very low point in my life.
Mm. I can imagine. What, when you look back at that, what were you most afraid of? Like when you, and I suppose I want to ask actually about the very first time because as you say, anything to do with your vision, yeah, I would automatically be like, wow, okay, that's not just a niggle in my shoulder. That might just be that I pulled something a bit weird at the gym. Like that's a serious symptom. And then to go through all of that time in hospital and then to get to the recovered stage, air quoting, but then to be told no. Did you feel like one step forward, two steps back? Like, what was your internal landscape like?
Uh, I felt disappointment, and I felt
Mm-hmm.
that my body was betraying me in a
Oh,
way that I didn't understand because you don't feel that. You know, there's actually
mm.
something going on. Your immune system is making big mistakes. It's
Yeah.
attacking your own tissues.
Yes.
But you know, you don't feel it until the damage is done. You don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And and I was disappointed because I had been brought up also, you know, like very health conscious and eating good foods and stuff. Um, and this was something that I felt I had absolutely no power over.
Mm.
Yeah. I was thinking, yeah, all this, you know, eating vegetables and tofu, and what was it
Yeah,
for? It didn't help.
yeah. I've done all the right things and I'm being punished.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, so I think disappointment is, and then yeah, fear, of course.
Yeah.
But I had a very particular reaction to the fear, which was I refused to look too far ahead. I I s-
Mm.
I didn't look at the big picture, and I think
Mm.
that's what saved me. I just thought, you know, if I look years ahead, I'm going to be scared out of my wits because
Yes.
you know, what's going to become of me? So I just focused on what I could do in that on that particular day and also make the most of it. Especially after my hospital stay, I was going to make the most of every single day with my kids and
Yes.
I think I became a much cooler, more relaxed mom after
Yeah.
my hospital stay because I knew that all this stuff that you get so worked up about is really not worth a
Not.
second thought.
It pales to comparison when you're actually served something much more serious.
Yes.
It's interesting as you're talking, like the two words that are coming to my mind is perspective again and again, because it's like you've got the same life, but your perspective is completely shifted after having that experience. And then also the word that you've used, you've become more patient. I wonder whether is part of the developing of patience for other people too, that you have experienced those feelings of like, I'm disappointed. I feel like my body's betraying me. And then needing to almost, I don't know, walk the line of like, if I go too far down that track, I'm actually going to end up in a pretty scary reality. And I'm air quoting.
Mhm.
Do you feel like that is the practice of patience as well? It's like learning that you can kind of, I don't know, go from the feeling of fear to the feeling of, no, I'm going to choose not to look too far ahead so that the fear doesn't get woken up too much. Does that treading the line?
Um, I think so.
Mm,
Um, I I think that for me as a person, and you know, the way I used to be, the way I was brought up,
mm-hmm,
I think I needed that experience to be able to practice patience. I
mm,
really needed this. I think some people um, have this quality, you know, earlier. I needed to be really at the bottom
Mm-hmm.
to understand how that feels.
Mm.
And I'm fine with that. I'm grateful for that.
Yes.
Um, and this, what you call treading the line, is
Mm-hmm.
something that um, I think it makes the biggest difference in my exchanges with people because it's something where
Mm.
I can really help them
Yeah.
just by shifting their view, their outlook from this big picture to, okay, I understand, it looks terrible, it is scary. And it's
Mm-hmm.
also because we have this weird, and this is just our perception, right? That we always look at our life like the years that we assume are left over until the end. This is the same way of looking too far ahead. And
Yes.
I can say, okay, I understand it's scary and it feels like most of it is behind us, but what if we
Mm-hmm.
just look at today? What can we do today?
Mm.
What can you do today? Um, and and that's incredibly empowering. And when we're honest, that's today's all we have. We
Exactly.
don't have anything else.
Everything else is just a concept of how much time or how much
Yes,
whatever we have, because who knows what's around the corner. Um, yeah, who knows what's around the corner. When when you're working, because now we've talked about your weightlifting, but you also have a business that's specifically helping women and particularly midlife and older women understand that they haven't been put out to pasture, that they can build strength and they can build health and they can shift things one little moment of presence and one little tweak every day. How did that unfold? So sorry, I'm going all over the place, Kim, because we've got to the part of the story where you've told that you have MS, but we haven't got to the middle bit. So what did
that's
you
true.
do with
Yeah.
that information? Sorry, I just realized I've forgotten one whole big chunk.
Yeah, that's true. So when the doctor told me I needed lifelong treatment, I fought with him for an hour because I didn't want that.
Yeah.
Um, I remembered very well how it was to be totally powerless in hospital, and I
Mm,
didn't want to give my power away
mm,
again.
mm.
But first of all, he was not used to this. Someone, he was just writing the prescription, wanted to send me on my way. I said,
Yeah.
hang on, can we
Hang on a
can we
minute, big boy.
can we talk about this? Um, and and then I said, like my second relapse, it was super mild. It was close to nothing. I
Mhm,
I just noticed it because I was very attentive. Maybe I'm getting better anyway.
mhm.
And if I start this lifelong treatment, I never know. Am I getting better or is it just in check because of the treatment?
Yes,
And
yeah.
that that really scared me. But
Mm.
he wouldn't budge, and I suppose he couldn't because that was what they did at the time.
Yes.
And then I asked him if I could at least exercise, and he said something like, "Ah, okay, but be careful." So he was very non-committal, and that's something I think that wasn't right. He should have said, "Yes, of course you can. Do
Mm.
whatever you feel good with."
Yes.
Um, but I talked to a nurse later who said, absolutely, exercise is great for MS patients.
Hmm.
So then I went back to the gym and I had a totally different purpose. I really just wanted to get strong and
Yes.
build myself back up. So it was not this typical um, motivation that women have normally to somehow, achieve a certain body shape
Yeah.
or
Fit into the
control their
jeans or whatever. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
control their weight or stuff. It
Hmm.
was like I want to be strong. I never wanted to be powerless again, and got myself a book, one of the first books that said women should lift heavy.
Hmm.
Um, it's actually called "Lift Like a Man, Look Like a Goddess." Crazy title. The guys say today they would never call it that again, but it was a great book, and
I think
uh,
that's a cool bloody title. I would pick that up.
and they have everything in there. So I started training, and I started getting stronger really quickly, which is great because your body does react quickly to those stimuli. You
Yes.
just need to start doing something.
Hmm.
And every checkup with my neurologist, it was like, going through the motions because it was obvious that I was doing great. Reflexes that they said would never come back, they
Hmm.
came back. And we moved again. We moved to Spain. I found myself a great neurologist. And after 3 years of prescribing the same treatment, when I asked him if I could suspend for 2 weeks for a camping trip, that I
Yeah.
didn't want to take my injection apparatus on a camping trip. He said, "Do you want to stop for good? I'm going to support you if you want to try."
Amazing.
I said, "Hell yes."
Yeah.
So that was my second shot at life. And that's like more than 6 years ago. I've been without treatment, without
Wow.
symptoms for more than 6 years. And I thought with my weight training that, I'm not claiming that you can cure MS with weight training, but I got this gut feeling that I was onto something. And I think
Yes.
this effect that it has on mental health, on the way you look at life,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think that's probably what saved me most.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a lot of damage or lesions. I still have low sensitivity in my left hand, so I could
Mm-hmm.
move. But I think what happened to my mind, all the stuff that we talked about, I think
Yes.
that's what helped me get better and come back. And it doesn't have to be MS or anything, but I realized that I was onto something, because if you can create that attitude, that mindset just
Mm-hmm.
by lifting heavy stuff. Uh, that's something I want to share.
Yeah.
Um, so I then took, I mean, I was still working as a journalist, but I started taking classes, certifications, and at some point I took the plunge. It was actually, I think, the year when my neurologist said that I didn't need treatment anymore. They said, okay, I'm going to do this.
I'm
I
going
want to
all
share this
in.
message. Yes.
Yes.
Um,
I love
and
this energy.
yes, and it's amazing because I'm so passionate about this, and I know, make your passion your profession is not necessarily good advice, because we need skills, but
Mhm.
because I love lifelong learning,
Yes.
I threw myself on acquiring those skills with so
Hmm.
much joy and fun that uh, I think it was the best thing I could do at that point, and I'm really glad I did.
So cool. Do you, when you think about the clients that you most often work with, are they people that have had a similar kind of like, it may not be such a, a strong diagnosis. Strong is not the right word, but like a diagnosis like MS, but maybe they've had, I don't know, a fracture or something. Like, is that the entry point to working with you, or is it that they're women who just want to say no to the story, that we have to be like quietly fading into the background and getting weaker and, less interesting as we age?
It's a mix.
Hmm.
I think, in a way, uh, nearly every midlife woman has this moment, this sort of aha moment where,
Hmm.
it might be that you're looking in the mirror, or it might be that you're trying to play with your grandkids. There's this aha moment when you
Hmm.
realize, I'm not who I used to be,
Yeah.
and I don't like this. And I think that many women go through many trials and tribulations and doing stuff. Most start by dieting,
Mm.
then some do yoga or Pilates, or
Hmm.
just trying stuff to get back to that old self.
Hmm.
Um, and when all of that has sort of failed or not really delivered the results that they were looking for, then they become open to something else. And my sort of muscle solution, and the
Hmm.
great thing is, I was onto this because of my own experience, but by
Yes.
now we have so much research
Oh,
that
so
actually
much. Yeah.
says, yeah, if you look after your muscle mass, most of the rest will be taken care of. So
Correct.
because of this generation, and I'm part of this generation, and the way we were brought up, there's still a lot of diet culture ingrained in our brains, and a lot of
Hmm.
I just have to stop eating meat, or I have to do a certain thing like this, and then I'll be better. But over time, it's when it sort of dawns on them that it's something else that they need. And because the strength and muscle solution is so positive, it's like building something. It's the same thing I mentioned when I
Yes.
went back to the gym. Building something is so much easier and more empowering and more fun to stick with than trying to shrink or to cut or to restrict or to find
Yep.
out how
Make
you can
yourself
take.
Mm.
more stuff out of your diet and forbidden
Hmm.
foods and what have you. It's so much easier and it's so much more effective.
Yeah. And as you're talking, I'm actually looped back to you talking about the spotlight on the stage. And as you were saying that, those couple of sentences, I was thinking, you are taking up space in a way that women of a certain age are not supposed to be. You're going against the grain. And what you're saying, like the whole diet culture and cluster effery that is, restrict and whatever, is all about staying a palatable, in air quotes, size for other people. So we've been trained to think that our bodies are wrong if they're a different shape or a different way of being or whatever. And I just think as you're talking, well, two things. First of all, the research, as you say, very clearly says look after your bones, look after your muscle mass, and you will not end up, a thin, brittle older lady that's on a Zimmer frame because she's broken a hip and maybe not survive that. So being strong and powerful, but like you're saying, the mental health aspects of that, like that ripples through everything. And so then and I imagine this is, how old are your children now? Are they,
My
they're,
oldest is 25 and my
yeah,
youngest is 22.
yeah, right. So what impact has you changing the way that you have gone out in the world post the diagnosis? What do you reckon that's given to them or shown them or demonstrated to them?
I think that first of all, as I said, I think I became a cooler mom. So it was
Yes.
um, so I let go, which made them much more self-reliant,
Hmm.
and they do all the stuff they need to do. They don't want to be sort of catered to or they don't want us to take their decisions for them
Yes.
it's a great feeling when you just trust them and they trust themselves that
Hmm.
that happen that's again and then I think um having a mom that competes in weightlifting I think they find it kind of
Very
cool.
cool. I reckon you'd be the coolest mum on the block. I'd be like, that is so cool. When you are on that power weightlifting stage and it's just about your time, have you ever like time to actually do the lift? So you've got the 60 seconds, which would freak me out because I'm not good with time pressure. But anyway, um, what have you ever met fear on that platform, or does the fear just not show up because you've practiced so often outside of that environment that you're just doing your thing because this is the thing that you do?
Yeah, no, fear, no.
Mm.
Not at all. Um, you can be nervous, and
Yes.
then you also become quite. It's so surprising how your body is different every single day. And because this lifting thing, it's like an explosive move. So
Yes.
you visualize the movement in your head, and then you give it a go. And sometimes it works fine, and sometimes it doesn't work at all.
Hmm.
So you learn to do whatever you can to make that lift and to make it make it a good lift.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you can really go, visualizing is a big one for that.
Mm.
Um, but you can't 100% control the outcome. And this is a
Yeah.
big lesson for life too. I can just do what I need to do and then
Mm.
let things happen.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what we can do in life. We cannot control outcomes.
Nope.
And what I do, I mean, I sometimes have a thought that, if you get 3 attempts at each of the 2 lifts,
Hmm.
and when you don't make 3 lifts in a row, then it's called zeroing, I think.
Yes.
Then you get 0 points for that lift.
Hmm.
And that is a little bit of a specter that's sort of looming. But when you've done it once, then you're
It's
not
like,
afraid
yeah,
of it anymore.
I just
It
burst my
happens.
bubble.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will officially never
Um,
have to do that first time ever again.
so so there's a bit of nervousness before the very first lift. And when I've
Yeah.
made the first lift, then I think, okay, now I can have fun and keep doing it. So
Yeah.
it's not fear, it's a bit of nervousness, it's adrenaline, definitely. But
Yes.
this is also something weightlifting has taught me is uh, to live with failure.
Oh,
And
how many life lessons are we going to cover in one episode? My goodness.
is yeah. it's just, it happens. And then some things that, yeah, sometimes I know, I won a competition or stuff like this. The things that I'm most proud of is when, for example, I failed the first two attempts and I made the third one, because
Yes.
that's when I can
Mm.
prove to myself that I can reset my mind, start from scratch,
Mm.
start with a beginner's mind, open like a new window, and not go back in my mind to, oh my God, why did I fail that one? What happened with this one?
Hmm.
Just shut that out, focus on that one. And when that happens, when I fail two and I make the third one, that's when I'm particularly proud, because I realize
Yeah.
that I've learned to really reset my mind,
Yes.
and start from, with a beginner's mind. Like, this is the first lift
Mm.
I've ever done and I'm ever going to make.
Yeah.
And this is also very important in life, to not dwell on stuff that's gone by, that's past, and just do, what can I
Exactly.
do now?
Well, exactly. And I imagine, again, like I keep getting drawn back to this self-trust and power. It's like I can trust myself. And even if I go for that third lift with the beginner's mind, I've done everything that I can control, again in air quotes, but everything that I can do to bring this moment to what I would like to happen. But there's still that moment of surrender, isn't it? It's like, okay, so
Absolutely.
I can master my mind. I can bring beginner's mind. I can kind of clean the slate and, start with a new window. I love that. I love that language that you're using. And it's also possible that that will also be failure. But either way, it's actually, as you're talking, it sounds like you're not making either mean anything about like how valuable you are, or who you are as a person, or whatever. It's just like, I'm here, I'm competing. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And that's a big lesson I learned. And that's also great when you, when you have a trainer and people around you. A weightlifting club is a bit like a family. It's not a commercial
Yes.
gym. And do you fail? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
I mean, people say, "Oh, no worries. Next time it's going to be better." And
Mhm.
this, it doesn't, like you say, it doesn't say anything about you as a
Mm.
person,
Yeah.
um, which is really great.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and l- learning to live with failure is also one of the things that I appreciate most about my journey, because it doesn't,
Mm.
throw me back. It doesn't throw me into the ropes. I say, okay, this didn't go well. What can we do next?
Yep. What can we do next? What can I learn for next time? What can I do next? And don't make it mean anything about me. Um, with just going back to ideal clients that you love working with, what are the biggest mindset things that they're getting over? We've talked about the dieting kind of concept of like, yeah, building something rather than taking away, or being more palatable in size or shape or whatever. What other things stand in the way? Is it the age thing as well? Like that your kind of first reaction was, oh, do you know how old I am?
Yeah, not so much.
Hmm.
I think the biggest mindset shift that we need to work on is the all or nothing,
Oh, black and
perfectionism,
white
black
thinking.
and white. Yes,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
one of my big concepts, that when my clients, when they learn that, they love it. It's what I call clean slate 24/7. So
Oh.
it's 11 p.m. You've
Hmm.
eaten a tub of ice cream and had a bottle of red wine, whatever it is,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you think, screw it, I'm just gonna have midnight nachos now because everything's down the drain anyway. No,
Oh my
it's
God, that's what I
11.
used to do, Kim. When I was still in diet culture land, that's exactly what I
Yes,
used to do. I'd be like,
yeah.
F it.
Yeah, I think that's we've all done it.
Yeah.
And we practice that even at 11 p.m. everything's gone to shit. We can still, have a glass of water and go
Mm.
to bed. We don't have to,
Mhm.
drive ourselves deeper into the ground or punish ourselves by making things worse. Um, and that's very, very powerful, because it's this
Mm.
reset thing. It's this not focusing on
Mm.
on past failures or mistakes. We're just saying, okay, what can I do now?
I love
This is
that.
it's the one big question that basically solves everything. What can I do now?
Yeah, what
And
can I do
then
now? Because by
and make that the best
definition,
possible choice. Yeah.
yes. That's what I was about to say. The definition in that question is I always have a choice. So,
Yes.
and this is
Abs
where I struggle sometimes. I probably don't have the level of patience that you do necessarily, but when I'm kind of hearing someone stuck in a loop of like, I don't have any power to change this, I'm like, oh, because yeah, we always have a choice. We always have a choice. Even if it is just to choose to see something from a different perspective, using the word that you've used a number of times. Yeah, rather than saying, okay, I've been diagnosed with MS, that inevitably means X, Y, Z, and zooming into the future. And because we know, I think we all logically know the power of our minds to paint the picture of reality, and then we start living into it. But often it's used for evil, not good, right? But
yeah.
what you're talking about with visualization even is it's just practicing the same power of your mind to paint the picture of reality, which then you live into, but it's using it for a good, positive outcome rather than, you know, this is a
Yes.
slippery slide to some awful, inevitable negative conclusion, which,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think in general, as humans, we're only just scratching the surface of how powerful the mind is.
Yes.
Um, it's amazing. And this working against this black or white thinking is also just trying to make the best possible choice in the moment. So
Mm.
um, I don't know, you could be like at a fast food diner and the
Mm-hmm.
choice is between, say, fries and something else. I don't know what kind of food they have there, but
Yeah.
like
I'm like, oh,
make oh yeah, yeah, okay, let's say between fries and bread,
yep.
white bread,
Mm-hmm.
even shitty industrial bread. You can just make up your mind, say which is the least worst choice in this
Yep.
case, and
Yep.
and
Yep.
make that one.
Mm-hmm.
Then you know you've made the best possible choice, and that's it. That's
Mm-hmm.
all you can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's you're good. As you're talking, I'm reminded of when you're studying mindset, they talk about all of these frames of mind that are not helpful for people. And one of them is that catastrophizing and the black and white thinking and the something is either good or bad. So those binary things like I am being a good person and on track with my plan or my whatever, fill in the blank, or I am being a bad person. And
Mm.
even that like personification of I'm not even making a good or bad choice. It's actually defining who I am as a person. It's like that's just a story as well. Like you don't have to buy into that. Um, when you're working with a client and they far surpass by working with you what they expect would be possible, what opens up for them? Because I'm fascinated by the ripple effect of what this physical work and the mindset work that you're talking about actually like delivers to people's lives.
They just feel so empowered in all
Mm.
kinds of situations. They will come back and say, "Oh, I was in this situation and somebody said this." And then I said, um, no, maybe not. And I thought, "Oh my God, I had never been able to say no before." Um,
Yes.
so is this, I think it's a general feeling of having more power, which
Mm.
is, I think it's a big one with
Yep.
women.
Yep.
And it's something also that we work on a lot. When you work with me, I'm also going to tell you, look at your environment.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to work on your environment more than you have to work on yourself.
Uh-huh.
Uh, when we do these things on January 1st and we say, okay, I'm going to eat
Yeah.
chicken and
This
broccoli
is the
for the next three
year.
months, yeah,
Yep.
and go to the gym 3 times a week and stuff like that. Um, we tend to think that we sort of have to become a different person,
Mhm.
and if we just do all these things, everything's going to be fine without even looking at our environment. And our environment might make that totally impossible, or make it extremely hard.
Yes.
Um, and sometimes that's where we have to begin.
Hmm.
That's where we have to start our work. And the huge problem that arises from not being aware of that is what you mentioned before. Women will then think there's something wrong with them. They
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
think it's me. I am
Hmm.
undisciplined. I have no self-control. I have no
Hmm.
willpower. I
Yep.
have no motivation. When
Ah,
everything around you is set up, to keep you from doing what you want to do.
yes. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I learned very, very, very early on when my kids were little that if I wanted to keep to my daily movement practice, then I needed to make it the easiest thing possible for me to do. So to the point where, and it sounds ridiculous now, but to the point where I'd put out my clothes ahead of time and my shoes and my socks, and I'd make sure my car keys were on top of that so I could get out of the house, sneaking past bedrooms of little people because as soon as they were awake, it wasn't going to happen. And
Mm.
I just remember kind of thinking, why have I not been aware of this in my life before? It's because, obviously younger kids and you've got lots more demands on your time from just you need to be there physically. Um, but yeah, it was the first time in my life that I realized that my environment could either be conducive or like full of resistance. Can you talk to me about your perspective between discipline and willpower, and what would you say if someone was saying to you, I've got no willpower, I always fail at this is not going to work? What is your, yeah, what's the way that you actually speak with people about that?
Yeah, the first thing that I say about willpower is that it's actually not really a character or personality trait.
Yeah.
It's just another function in our brain
Hmm.
of allocation of resources.
Ooh.
So, and it all rides on the autonomic nervous system, which
Hmm.
is crazy stuff, but very empowering too. So, if you are sleep deprived, you will not have the resources to make good decisions. It's just not possible.
Hmm.
If you are in pain, physical pain,
Hmm.
emotional pain,
Hmm.
you will not have the resources to make good decisions. If
Yeah.
you are in chronic stress, you, your brain will not have the resources to make good decisions.
Mm.
And I think this knowledge can be so liberating because you stop thinking, oh, I'm a bad person, or this is just sort of built into me. No, it's not. It's just your system has,
Yes.
has a certain capacity. And if you run, beyond that capacity all the time because you don't sleep or because you don't eat well or because you're under chronic stress, then there is no way you can make a good decision.
Yeah.
And the next step is then you create a process with the least possible resistance,
Mm.
inner resistance and outer resistance. That's why most of my clients start working out at home.
Hmm.
15 minutes a day,
Yeah.
stuff that they can do in their pajamas.
Yeah.
Because you think on January 1st that you are taking one big decision that you want to go to the gym. How many decisions do you really have to take to make that happen? You have to pick a
So
gym. You
many.
have to
Yep.
buy a gym bag. You
Mm-hmm.
might have to pick a trainer. You have
Mm-hmm.
to decide to, pack that gym bag. You have to,
Mm-hmm.
decide to get to your car. You have to go into traffic. You have to find
Mm-hmm.
parking. You have to walk through the door. You have to get changed. You have to walk onto the gym floor. And if you've never been there, it's going to be like a very
Very
uncomfortable
intimidating.
place.
Yep.
So that's not one decision. That's 10
Yeah.
decisions. And each one comes with its own resistance. So that's the next step. You just create a process with the least possible resistance, the
Mm.
lowest threshold possible. And that's
Yeah.
from that point, you can create momentum, positive feedback, and then you get better. It's like so many things. It's a skill. You develop that
Yeah.
skill, you build that muscle between the ears also, and then
Yes. Oh,
you get better at it.
so good. It's such a good reminder. As you're talking, I'm thinking back to I hit a point in my life where I ended up with like a really significantly high level of chronic pain and have now understood that I actually have a joint condition and blah, blah, blah. There's a backstory to it. But at that stage in my life, I'd gone from a regular gym person and regular every morning exercise I had been for a long, long time, even when my kids were little, even when I was pregnant, all of those things, and went to just so much pain with any type of movement. And at that stage, I was already, seeking answers and trying to figure things out anyway. But I was just like, I know for my mental health, I need to move. And so I did exactly what you're saying. I didn't actually do it at home, but I just said to myself, it doesn't matter if you only walk for 5 minutes, but you're going to do it every day. And it was just the repetitive And again, to me, that's building self-trust. It's like, okay, I'm not asking myself to do an hour of exercise, which I know is going to mean that I can't sleep tonight because I actually am in so much pain that I can't settle myself. But just the repeated saying yes to making that an important step of my day, then it kind of built that, I don't know, habit. And then when, some days I'd be like, oh, I feel like walking 15 minutes, and maybe I want to walk half an hour. And then, and I've never ever done that. Well, I've never had to. I have never had so much resistance to physical activity. And then when I found myself there, I was like, why have I not approached things like that, like with the least amount of steps or barriers? Because, yeah, there's been times in my life where I've wanted to change a habit and I've tried to go from all or nothing, in one, like the January 1st. I'm like, stop
Yeah.
making promises to yourself on January 1st, please. Unless it's letting go of things, and even that's tricky as well. When you think back to when you first got the MS news, and you said before you now look back and feel very clear that it's been a blessing and that it's all unfolded as it should. What do you reckon the then version of you would think about this power for Olympic weightlifting version of you in, at a 60-year-old level of, power and mindset mastery and doing what you're meant to be doing in the world? What do you reckon she would say?
I think she would say that this is a distant dream. Is that even possible? It's
Mm,
like it's actually probably the dream best possible outcome.
mm, yeah.
And as I told you that I allow myself to look ahead and to look at the big
Mm,
picture. Um, my dream at the time in that situation would have been just to live a normal life and
yeah.
stay able to walk and do things every day with my kids. Uh, and that's also why it's important to measure backwards sometimes.
Oh,
See,
yeah.
how far you've come. We tend, and that's another big picture thing. We have a big goal and we look there and it's so high up the mountain and oh my goodness, I'm never going to make it there. And then we take the
Mm-hmm.
first step and the second, and we need to stop for just a second and look back once in a while, see how far we've come. I, until 2 years ago, hadn't realized at all that my story was like a bit crazy. I just thought, no, this is my life. Here I am. I was very grateful,
Mm-hmm.
but at some point, yeah, I actually did
This
get
is
an
powerful.
MS diagnosis. I
Yeah.
did, and I'm here now. So you have to tell yourself sometimes
Mm,
how far you've come,
yeah.
because that's also empowering and then gives you, the courage to keep moving forward.
Yeah. And by definition, do you not also go, well, what else is possible? I wonder where else this is going to unfold. And I'm not meaning the same sort of thing you were saying about, always being focused like 5,000 steps ahead of what you are. But do you have that sense of like, I wonder what else is like, this magic has unfolded from this really, really trying part of my story. I wonder where it ends up.
It's more like I'm curious what the next opportunity is going to be.
Yeah.
Like, and I know I trust myself now to not say no to anything like, too quickly or offhand.
Mm-hmm.
It's if something comes up, I'm going to ask myself, could I
Mm.
do this? Do I want to do
Mm.
this? And I'm pretty sure in my 30s, had someone said, do you want to compete in weightlifting? I would have said no. I would have thought,
Mm.
oh, just another thing to put pressure on me, just another thing with
Ah, interesting. Hey,
appointments, another thing to do and
to
stuff.
commit to, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And one of my coaches, actually, weightlifting trainer, says when people turn 50, they become anarchists and it's so hard to deal with them. And I love that. Because, yeah, I mean, we have done so much in our lives. We've been giving, doing
I
forever. And
love
now
that.
we do whatever the hell we want.
Yep, I love it. I feel like I've always been an anarchist, but it's only just now that she's coming to the surface from
Yeah,
underneath all of the
you're letting her
conditioning.
out.
I'm like, all right, I'm 50 in 8 months' time. Come on. But yeah, I do feel that sense of Actually, the person I was talking to before was talking about unapologetically yourself. And I do feel like there's that energy of like, all things are crystal clear and I'm not going to apologize for what I, want or desire, but I'm also going to like squeeze the juice out of all the years that I've ever lived and learn. Like when you've been talking about patience and tolerance and, just being able to be there and be a compassionate, non-judgmental space for people when they are being challenged. Like what a gift that that's given you, and how much more rich is your life as a result because of that. But yeah, don't expect me to apologize for the next step either, which I just love because that's power, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wake up every morning thinking, "Oh my God, I'm so blessed. I'm so lucky." Um, and that doesn't mean that I don't wake up sometimes thinking, like, for example, it's something that I also share with my clients all the time. I go for a walk outside
Mm-hmm.
every morning
Mm-hmm.
because it's good for my sleep and
Yes.
for my mental health and
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
And more times than you would think, I wake up in the morning and I think, oh, today I'm not going to go. I'm I'm tired. I have so much to do.
Yep.
I can't be bothered. And
Mm-hmm.
then 20 minutes later, I'm tying my shoelaces and I'm out there
Yeah.
because habits have this power of
Yes.
making you do stuff without you thinking, without you
Mm-hmm.
negotiating, and without you having to take a decision, which is where
Yes.
we want to go.
Yep.
And there's
100%.
something I need to mention this with regards to willpower too, because
Yes.
we do not need an ounce of willpower for habitual behavior. Habitual behavior does not require any willpower or discipline at all.
Nope.
So sometimes people say, "Oh, Kim, you're doing this. You're so disciplined." And
Sorry, I had a fly just fly in front of
yeah,
my camera then. Sorry.
yeah,
Continue.
so yeah. So people will say, "Oh, Kim, you have so much discipline. You're doing this every day." It's not that. It's just a habit, and you can build that. It's a skill to build a habit, and when it's a habit, there's no negotiation going on
No,
in your head. You're just
no,
doing it.
no. It's on yeah, it's automatic pilot, but it's also becomes part of your identity. I think that's been a powerful realization for me as well. It's like, yeah. And that's why I asked the question about willpower, because I just feel like willpower is given this like hugely heavy weight. And it's like, I don't feel like willpower is something that is a sustainable power behind our daily decisions, making them habitual, making them on automatic pilots, stacking them with things that you already do, like Atomic Habits. James Clear's great book on habits talks
Absolutely.
about, attaching
Yes.
new things to something you already do, those types of things. Very powerful because you're not making a decision. And yeah, and I love what you just said about the bandwidth thing as well, in terms of what capacity do I have? Like, don't expect yourself to be able to make decisions like you would on 10 hours sleep if you, like, for instance, last night, 4.5 hours sleep for me. And I know damn well, like, I did exactly what you just said. I'm like, I'm not going for a walk this morning. And I know that had I prioritized that, but I am going to as soon as we finish this podcast, because my energy is feeling itchy because it's so much part of my routine that when I don't do it, I feel
Yes.
like I'm like, something is missing here,
Yes.
and
Absolutely.
that's the power of the habit, right? It's like, yeah,
Absolutely.
make it just part of who you are. I love it. I love it. Could you please share with everyone where they can find you? And also, what I should have asked you, do you work with clients all over the world, or like do you work online with people? Because we should talk about that. Yeah.
Yes, I work completely exclusively online, and
Excellent.
wherever you are in the world,
Perfect.
we can make that happen. I actually think that online is much more supportive than in person because you have this sort of 24/7 connection,
Yeah.
which doesn't mean that I don't sleep, but my clients can reach out to me anytime and they can just ask me like any questions. They could be standing in a supermarket and say, "Oh, what is
Hmm.
this?" I'm going to ask Kim, and then they just
Yeah.
shoot me a message, and that's fine. So you can reach me. You can have a look at my website, which is kimrahir.com. And on there, you find a free strength and health assessment that you can take. And I
Yes.
think it's really crucial to establish where you are at.
Yep.
right now. If you want to start something, if you want to go from A to B, first you want to establish what's A, where am I?
Yep.
And it's not just I'm not just going to ask you, can you do 3 push-ups or something like this? It's a holistic questionnaire where we look at your entire health situation, your environment too, as I mentioned. And depending on your result, I give you a few hints on what you could do next, which is always the question, right? What can I do now?
Yeah, what can you do next? I love that question.
That's on kimrahir.com. And with my name, you can check me out on Facebook, have a little peek into my life, my weightlifting adventures and
yes,
stuff that I share there.
Actually, for people that are listening and are connected to one of the syndication platforms, the cover that you will see when you open Kim's episode is actually Kim weightlifting. So you have to check out the cover if you're listening on your phone. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I knew that this was going to be a powerful story, but I just did not expect there to be so many different ways that, you've helped us to understand the power of, there's a lot of P words that I've written down: presence, patience, perspective, power. Like, I just feel like it's all, it's all the P's. Maybe we'll be taught. And actually,
that's cool.
Practicing as well. And I think that is key. Because yes, as you've said about multiple things, like the mind is a muscle that, any time that you're meeting resistance, it's actually just the practice of meeting it and figuring out how to get through it or to strengthen or whatever. Thank you so much for lending your wisdom to us. And thank you again for getting up so early in the morning, your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I really had a great time talking to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning in, my friend. And if you enjoyed this ep, please share it with another midlife friend or take the opportunity to go and rate and review the show on your favorite listening platform. All of these things really help us to reach more women in midlife. Now, I don't know if you know, but I am both a storyteller who helps healers and helpers capture and communicate their work through the magic of storytelling. And I'm a midlife self-care coach who is super passionate about helping other women reframe perimenopause and midlife as a powerful and purposeful time of transformation. To find out more about me and my work, you can head to Instagram at Kylie Patchett or my website, kpcreative.com.au, and that is kpkreative.com.au, and you will find all of those links in the show notes. Have a spectacular day, and may you be setting yourself wild and finally fucking free.